you need a break from the big city? Do you want to breathe some fresh air and feel the sunshine? Do you love three-wheelers and getting lost in the woods? Are you not too worried about getting attacked by a bear roaming the campground? Then do we have the destination for you? Rainbow Valley Campgrounds. We offer all the recreational activities you could want, and while safety isn't our top concern, relaxation is. So if you're willing to take a gamble, own your own bear mace, and aren't thrown off by our 43% survival rate, make Rainbow Valley Campgrounds your next vacation destination. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully we're good on the audio front this time. Last time my mic decided to be a dick and cut out on and off, so I'm hoping this is sounding better. Hello, hello, hello. We'll find out. Can you believe it's already February? Man, time is flying. So it's kind of crazy, but I actually got recognized at the grocery store the other day. Yeah, and I gotta say, it's kind of weird. Never having that before, I mean, that's definitely gonna take some getting used to. Yeah, the lady came up to me, and the way she said it was funny. She was like, "Hey, aren't you the guy that works the meat counter?" And I was like, "Yes, how can I help you?" But that's not why I do this. I don't do it for the fame. No, I do it for the art. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know what the weather is like where you're at, but for me, it's freaking cold. So I'm daydreaming about summertime and going camping, which leads me to today's movie, Berserker. So this isn't the first movie that comes to mind when you think of camping horror movies, but that's okay because it's terrible. Berserker came out in July of 1987 and weighs in at 1 hour and 25 minutes. The tagline for it is, "It's too late to run, there's no time to scream, just close your eyes and pray to die." Now, I have a couple problems with this tagline, but we'll get into those later. It was directed by Jefferson Richard. He also directed In Search of a Golden Sky, but he's actually been a producer on 41 films, including Maniac Cop. The plot to Berserker is a tale as old as time. A terrifying Viking warrior dressed in the claws and mouth of a bear targets a group of people renting a cabin in the Utah woods. I mean, it's been done to death. Well, if you're ready to see what that looks like, let's get into the movie that is Berserker. So the movie starts off with a full moon, and like the majority of horror movies, this is not about werewolves. We see that we're back in the 10th century, and then we see what looks to be some sort of Viking ship, and after it hits shore, we get this. Okay, alright, yeah, off to a really good start. Feeling good, feeling positive here. This looks very, very promising. Ah, shit, George Buck Flowers in this? Well, apparently this is supposed to be scary, because they just keep showing the same stuff over and over and over again. Then we fade to this old couple where they debate about what day this is.
This is Wednesday.
No, Edna, this is Monday.
And you notice how she gives a look like he's an idiot and doesn't know what day it is? They decide to go for a walk to reminisce about their 40 years together. Oh, that's nice. I hope they get something nice for their anniversary. What is 40 years? Is that silver? We then see that they're lost, and Edna overreacts just a little bit.
It's just that I am so scared.
Before this happens, and Edna gets a horror movie money shot. Okay, I guess Edna's fears were founded. My bad. Either way, they're killed by a bear before cutting to... Wait a second, they had Ford Rangers in the 10th century? And did I miss them saying this was the present day? No, no. So this is still happening in the 10th century. Well, what the hell? I always thought life in the 10th century would be hard as hell. But apparently they're driving around in Ford Rangers and listening to the radio? Viking warriors, my ass. Anyway, since we meet everyone in this scene and it jumps around, I'll just tell you where they're sitting in the pickup. Driving, we have Josh.
Come on, Christy. Be real, will you?
Played by Greg Dawson. Nope, no other acting work for him. Next to him, we have Christy. She's played by Shannon Engelman. Now, she reminds me of someone, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Anyways, she was also in Pool Hall Junkies. Also, she doesn't really want to be taking this trip. Next to her, convincing her to still come on the trip, is Kathy. She's played by Valerie Sheldon. And again, this is her only acting credit. In the back, making sure they remember the essentials.
Got the sleeping bag, chips, what else do we bring?
Beer.
Hot.
We have Shelley, played by Beth Toussaint. She was in Savannah and Hijack. Her boyfriend Mike is played by Joseph Allen Johnson. And I don't know why, but I don't like when actors have 3 names. Anyways, he was also in Iced and the Slumber Party Massacre. Also, we do get some pretty sweet tunes during this scene. And finally, they're picking up Kathy's boyfriend, Larry. He's played by Rodney Montag. He was also in Iced, but he actually transitioned into visual effects and has worked on 53 projects, including some big movies such as Galaxy Quest, The Matrix Reloaded, 47 Ronin, and The Fate of the Furious. Doing quite well for himself. We find out that Larry is you fucking bookworm! And has brought a book about the area they are going to. We get a nice scenic shot and see them driving down the road before seeing Josh is smoking some reefer, and Shelley is somewhat of a photog. And I was actually able to get my hands on that landscape picture she took. I had to go through eBay, it was a whole thing, but yeah, here it is. Yeah, you took that from a moving truck driving on the highway. That's what it's gonna look like. Josh has decided to go full on spring break while driving, and the others don't mind enabling him. Well, hopefully he'll just crash and kill them and not anybody else. As they're driving, Larry reads that the area they are going to is known as Little Norway and was founded by direct descendants of the Vikings. Wait, descendants of the Vikings? This is still the 10th century. The Vikings are rampant right now. What the hell is he talking about? Next, we see that the fuzz is hot on their tail. They pull over, then we meet Officer Hill, played by John Goff. He was in a number of things, including The Fog, Grotesque, and Maniac Cop. But when I think of his work, the one that stands out to me is the crapfest that is Drive-In Massacre. Check out my review to see why I want to fight that movie. He goes through the motions before noticing Larry's book, and man, I almost thought of who Chrissy reminds me of, but it's gone now. Hill says that he's familiar with the book because his cousin owns it. Hill says he saw the can that Josh threw out the window, but he lets him off with a warning. They tell him they're going camping, and he tells them to be careful of the wild animals before heading out. The group gets to the campground, and we see that Josh is really good at following rules.
Anyway, old Pappy knows me. He'll come up and find us. It's no big deal.
Before we meet Pappy, who is played by George Buck Flower. Now, Flower had a pretty hefty career being in such films as Wishmaster, Village of the Damned, The Fog, and even Back to the Future. But just like John Goff, the film I think of with Flower is Drive-In Massacre, because they were both in it, and it scarred me with boredom. Anyways, we find out that Pappy doesn't know Josh as well as he thinks.
Come on, man, you know me. My dad and I came up here for years, we stayed at the Sargent place.
No, I don't know you.
And after finding out that they need a reservation, that Josh isn't so good at acting like a grown-up.
Hey, listen, old man, I just drove 75 miles. I've been coming here for years. I'm hot, I'm tired, I don't want a campsite, and I want one now.
So Mike jumps in and saves the day. Pappy tells them that they can stay at the Miller place, but not the Sargent place that Josh wanted, because it's already taken.
We want the Sargent place.
Before they leave, Mike does something I'm pretty sure we all want to do at this point.
Ah!
Yeah. And we also see that Pappy was just messing with Josh.
That George Venter ain't never had no manners, even when he was gay-eyed.
As they are driving, Josh decides that he doesn't want to stay at the Miller place. After Josh hides the tent from the people already staying there, looks like the old couple from the beginning, we get a montage that's basically a home video of every camping trip I've ever taken. Except here they lay down the sweet track over it. Before having a little fun with the audience. Then we gather around the fire and see what cool dudes do. Oh, well, I guess apparently they read history books at the campfire. Leary tells us about Viking berserkers, presumably the dude we saw at the beginning. He tells us that berserkers wore...
They wore bearskin robes, some with bear snout masks that they had killed with their own hands.
He says that they were usually insane and the first to attack. And oh man, that seems kind of graphic, doesn't it? Here, let's just fix that real quick. Ugh, that was a bit much. Okay, that's much, much better. He lays the groundwork and RoboCop. That's okay. That Christie reminds me of RoboCop. Oh god, that was really, really bugging me. Whew. Okay, sorry. Larry lays down the groundwork and also reads,
forced to forever revisit the earth by possessing the body of a blood relative.
and adds in,
This possession by the Berserker will cause the death of the possessed.
so overall, this blueprint isn't terrible. I mean, it's not great, but it could be worse. I just wish they said what could cause the Berserker to possess the relative. As the story is finishing up, Josh further endears himself to the group before they decide to hit the hay. We cut to Pappy playing chess with his cousin, Officer Hill. They talk about their family for a bit before Hill asks Pappy if some kids came to the camp. He tells him they did and that they are staying at the Miller place. Hill says he's worried about the group. Pappy tells him he shouldn't because...
You worry too much, Bob. It's been 6 years.
But that's all they give us for now, so a little bit of mystery there. But Hill decides to go check out the group anyways, before we get this shot. And, okay, so I do think it's kind of creepy when bears walk on just their back feet, but most people probably don't. I'm probably the minority there. We cut back to the cabin where Josh decides to unpack his luggage.
This place holds a lot of memories for me. It's the only time I ever got to really know him. The rest of the year he was a real bastard.
See what I did there? And the way they show it, I can't help but feel Mike and Shelley are up to some funny business underneath the blanket there. Josh also tells us that there was a rumor that a little girl was killed by a bear there 6 years ago. Oh, okay, so that's what Pappy was talking about. Christy steps outside to answer the call of nature, where we get some really good fog with some decent music. Then we see Hill going back to Pappy's, saying that the group isn't at the Miller place. Pappy says that since Josh is such an asshole, he probably took them to the Sargent place. Hill says he thought the old couple was staying there, and Pappy says yes, and he also adds in,
What's tomorrow? Is Wednesday?
Yeah.
alright, so you remember that old couple at the beginning and how the lady acted like her husband was just a complete idiot when he said he thought it was Monday because she thought it was Wednesday.
No, Edna, this is Monday.
Okay, Homer.
So let's run this down. They got killed that night. Then the next night, which is today in the movie, the kids show up. And tomorrow, or Wednesday, Pappy is supposed to grab the old couple. So it turns out that the old guy was right. It was Monday. See, and that's the kind of crap that causes us to die earlier. Just saying. Anyways, Pappy says he'll check on the kids when he gets the old couple. Hill doesn't seem fully on board, and Pappy also adds in,
It's only a book.
which I'm not really sure why. It doesn't seem like it has anything to do with anything at this point. We cut back to Christy making her way back to the cabin, and apparently she went as far away as she could. Then we cut back to the cabin and see that Mike and Shelley are starting to have some fun before Josh lights the brightest match ever.
Hey,
Sorry, dude.
He says that he's worried about Christy, so Mike and Shelley volunteer to go look for her. We see Christy still walking through the woods, and this is a good example of what a lot of this movie looks like. People walking through the woods with nothing happening. We do eventually get a jump scare. Then Josh decides to keep being an awesome guy.
Hey, man, turn it off!
And Jesus, why do they keep trying to show us Larry's balls? It's a bit much. Then amidst a ton of fog, we see Mike and Shelley getting busy, and Christy's still fucking walking. Then we go from 0 to 60 pretty quickly, and one of these ladies is having a much better time than the other. And they did do a good job of the sounds played when she's attacked, as in, they're very jarring. But if she's between the cabin and these two, how the hell does no one hear her screaming? Which brings me back to the tagline. There's no time to scream. Clearly that's bullshit, because Christy just screamed for like a minute. Then we see Larry stand up to Josh, which causes him to storm outside. Cut back to Mike and Shelly, and this part is very crucial to the plot, so make sure to pay attention. Very, very, very crucial. After getting dressed, Shelly discovers this random guy. Now, he doesn't look like the old guy from the beginning, so I'm not sure who the hell this is. Either way, Shelly decides to run away, like really far away, and again with the tagline, "It's too late to run." Well, somebody should tell Shelly that, because it looks like she's training for the Boston Marathon, on top of screaming up a storm. The tagline is horseshit, I'm just gonna say it. Also, I love Mike's reaction when he sees the guy. I just wish they hadn't cut away from him. Shelly keeps running until falling into a small pond, or bog, if you will, and ends up finding the lady who didn't know what day of the week it was. Man, I think we should put Shelly to work on finding Bigfoot. I bet she finds him in like 3 days. Maybe 4. Finally, Josh hears her, so he grabs the others and they go to look for her. Also, Mike should probably do more cardio because he has no stamina. I guess that explains why he was on the bottom. Shelly makes it to a clearing where we see that Christy is still alive in a cool shot.
Please help me.
And when she goes to help, she also gets attacked, presumably by a bear. Have no reason to think otherwise at this point. And it also finishes off Christy as well. Mike meets up with the others, and when they find Shelly and Christy, it's too late. And I can't help but think here that Larry looks like Phil Collins. Anyone else? Josh points out that whatever did this is probably still around, so they need to go get help in a very motivational speech.
Mike, we gotta be strong.
We see that murdering bastard of a bear again before seeing Pappy waking up. As the group walks around for a very long time, Pappy decides to go check on them. And I love fog, but I don't think I've seen this much fog in a movie since Monster Dog. So the group walks around, then we see the bear, then we see the group. It's a pretty drawn out scene. As they are walking, they find out that Josh took them to the Sargent place instead of the Miller place.
Huh?
I said he took you to the Sargent place, not the Miller. Then we see the bear again, and I'm starting to see a theme here. But you know what I'd really like to see right about now is an individual shot of each person walking. Oh, good. Hey, we got that. Also, and maybe it's just me here, I don't think we've seen the bear enough in this movie. Oh, hey, alright, awesome, more bear. As they're walking, they see Pappy and try to flag him down, but he doesn't hear them. Sweet, then we see the bear again. I like this plot because you can tell what's going to happen next. Walk, bear. Walk, bear. Pappy gets to the cabin, but obviously the group isn't there. Cut back to, you guessed it, the group walking again. And at least the music isn't bad here. Before Larry finds the dead body, and as he runs away, he trips and hurts his leg. He tries to walk, but can't.
I can't.
Josh determines that he broke his leg. Mike recognizes where they are and says,
The cabin's about 2 minutes straight that way.
Josh decides that Mike and Kathy will go back to the cabin and go get help while Larry and him wait there. Then we get a quick shot of, you guessed it, the bear again, before Mike and Kathy get back to the cabin and see Pappy's truck, but he's not there. They try to leave, but Josh left the radio on, so his truck is dead, and the keys aren't in Pappy's. Then they see what happened to Pappy, and it's not good. Mike decides to take the four-wheeler for help and tells Kathy to barricade herself in the cabin. We cut back to Josh and Larry, and Josh has a heartfelt moment.
I don't mean anything by it, man. I get jealous of you being so smart and all.
They start talking about the Berserkers, and as Larry explains what they look like, we finally meet the Berserker. Not bad, only took 66 minutes for that to happen. It's definitely a bold choice to introduce us to the bad guy with only 19 minutes left. Notice how I didn't say good choice, I said bold choice. Anyhow, Josh gets cut up pretty good while Larry can only watch. And when the Berserker goes for Larry, the bear shows up to save the day. So sorry about the whole murdering bastard comment, Bear. It seems like you're actually a cool dude. Then we get a good look at the Berserker. Before he goes full on Leslie Nielsen in The Day of the Animals, man, he must have chugged some grisly rage before attacking Josh. As they're fighting, Larry cheers on the bear, who eventually wins, and when it looks like it might attack Larry, it just decides to leave. How could we ever think you were the killer here, Bear? We then get a nice, pretty scenic shot before seeing that Larry has fashioned a crutch out of a tree limb. And I really like that they have the serene sounds of nature against the horror show that is what's left of Josh. It's a nice juxtaposition. We also find out that Josh is still alive, apparently. Then we cut back to Kathy, where something tries to get into the cabin, but the cots made out of twigs apparently proved to be too much. Cut to Mike flaking downhill before switching back to Larry making his trek where he struggles a little bit. Then this happens, and I'm not sure why. The sound makes me think that something's going to happen with Josh. Cut back to Larry making his pilgrimage, and remember when Mike said,
Cabin's about 2 minutes straight that way.
somehow I don't think they crossed through a river to get there. I mean, it seems like the most complicated, hardest way to get back. So, initially when I heard the song start, I didn't like it. But then I did a 180 now, and I really like it. I mean, I think it's great. Also, I think this is a great shot of Larry laying in the field. Kathy comes out when she hears Larry screaming, and I'm not sure if it was a character choice, if she was directed to, or if she just normally runs crazy, but I love it. Larry tells her about Josh and that
He's alive. The Berserker attacked him, but the bear came and
No, no, no.
no, shh, baby, you're talking nonsense, you're talking crazy. As he's babbling, we see that the Berserker is right near them.
Oh, God!
And the way it's shot is kind of unsettling, because of the bear mouth being there. And the effect of him screaming is very harsh. Which is, a good move, is done well. Hill shows up, and I love how intense Kathy is yelling for him. Get over here! Then she goes full on killer. And when they show the Berserker, I almost feel bad for him because he's like a wounded animal that has no idea what's happening. Eventually, Hill does. And then we get a nice short shot that reminds me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Larry gets loaded into the truck as Hill examines the Berserker. After he calls it in, they leave. Then we see the Berserker lying in the field in a cool shot. But then he transforms back into, oh shit, it was Pappy all along? But wait, earlier Josh read,
This possession by the Berserk will cause the death of the possessed.
but Pappy didn't die, so, okay, I hate to tell you, Larry, but your book is bullshit, man. Then the movie ends. And now for some fun facts. This movie was banned in Germany. They shot this in 2 weeks. Out of the 85-minute running time, a little under 8 minutes is just people walking or standing in the woods. Berserkers would actually go batshit crazy when in battle, so they would often wear special clothing so that their comrades could identify them and stay away because they attacked literally everything. When Shelley was getting dressed after the sex, what color were her shorts that she put back on? 1, red, 2, yellow, 3, blue, or 4, green? The answer is 3, blue. I would have also accepted secret answer 5. She was wearing shorts. So, would I recommend Berserker?
Nah.
It's not good. I mean, there are parts that are okay, like the crazy amount of fog. The music in it is pretty good at times, and there are some nice shots, but overall, there isn't much going on here. Hell, I mean, for the first 66 minutes, we think it's a bear killing people. Now, it's different if the characters think that it's a bear, but we know it's a berserker, but that's not the route they went. Also, what was up with Josh at the end? If they just wanted us to see that he was still alive, Larry already told us he was, so they wouldn't need to put in that mystical music. Now, I thought for a minute that he was actually going to turn into the Berserker, but nope, he just went back to sleep. But, I mean, if you like seeing people's feet while they're walking, then you should definitely check out the movie. I mean, if you do want to check it out for whatever reason, no judgment. I got no judgment here. I'll put a link in the description where you can check it out for free, at least when I recorded this. So, what did you think? Have you seen Berserker? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments. In my last review, I looked at a movie called Mark of the Witch. So I'll put a link up to that so you can check that out as well. Cool. Alright, well, that's a wrap on this one. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.